1 year after Earth's withdrawal, the galaxy looked completely different. The old council was gone. Nexus Prime had been converted into a museum, a reminder of what happened when power became more important than justice. Thousands of species visited every day to learn from the mistakes of the past. The Confederation of Free Worlds held its first official assembly on Unity Station. Every species, large or small, old or young, had an equal vote. Decisions took longer than they had under the Council, but they were fairer, and when species agreed, they meant it. Nobody was being forced. Nobody was being ignored. Trade flourished under the new system. Without the Council taking a cut of everything, merchants found they could actually make honest profits. The Quilrathi, freed from regulations, expanded their networks to reach species the Council had never bothered with. Prosperity spread. Technology advanced faster than ever before. Humanity shared their quantum gate technology with species who signed fair partnership agreements. Not forced sharing like Article 7. Real partnerships where both sides benefited. Other species contributed their own innovations. Together they achieved more in 1 year than the Council had in centuries. But not everyone was happy with the changes. The Vexillan fleet finally approached the edge of the galaxy. 50 years had passed for them. Only 1 year for everyone else. Time dilation from their long journey home. Empress Thala was older now. The journey had aged her. 50 years trapped in a ship, slowly crawling home. 50 years to think about what had happened. About how her pride had destroyed everything her people had built. She could have spent those years planning revenge. Many in her fleet had. They wanted to strike at Earth, to punish humanity for their humiliation. But Thala had learned something during the long journey. She had been wrong. The Vexians had ruled because they believed they were superior, better than other species, destined to lead. But humanity had proven that superiority did not come from age or tradition. It came from innovation, from cooperation, from willingness to change. And the Vexillans had refused to change for centuries. As her fleet entered Council space, messages flooded in. They described the new Confederation, the changes that had occurred. Species that had once begged for Vexillan approval now thrived without them. Thala's military commanders urged her to attack. We still have 10,000 ships. We can reclaim our empire. But Thala knew better. Earth had moved their fleet before without trying. If the humans wanted them dead, they would already be dead. The fact that her fleet had been spared meant something. It meant humanity was offering them a choice. Continue down the path of dominance and watch their species become irrelevant. Or accept the new reality and find their place in it. Thala made a decision that shocked her fleet. We are going to Earth, not to fight, to talk, her commanders protested. Some even threatened mutiny. But Thala was Empress. Her word was law, and she had made her choice. The Vexillan flagship appeared near Earth alone. The rest of the fleet waited at a distance. Thala requested permission to land, to speak with Earth's leaders. President Adeyemi granted the request. They met in a simple room. No guards, no weapons. Just two leaders who had seen their worlds change in ways neither had expected. Thala stood before the human president. For 300 years, she had never bowed to anyone. Vexillans did not bow. They ruled. But today, Thala lowered her head. I have spent 50 years thinking about my choices. About what I did to my people. To your people. I was wrong. The Council was wrong. We believed our age made us wise. But we were just old. Afraid of change. Afraid of losing our power. Adeyemi gestured to a chair. Sit, please, Thala sat. You could have destroyed us. Why did you not? Because destruction was never our goal, Adeyemi replied. We wanted freedom, respect, a place in the galaxy where we could grow and contribute. You threatened that, so we removed the threat. But we did not want to kill you. We wanted you to understand. And if I had come here seeking revenge, Thala asked, then we would have relocated your fleet again, farther this time, and again, and again. Until you understood that violence would not work. We have the power to defend ourselves, but we would rather use that power to build than to destroy. Thala was quiet for a long moment. What happens now? To my people, we have no empire anymore, no council to lead. What are we without our power?
That is for you to decide, Adeyemi said.
The Confederation welcomes all species as equals. Your people have knowledge, experience, perspective, those are valuable. But you must accept that you are not rulers anymore. You are partners.
Can you do that?
It was the death of everything the Vexillans had been, the end of their empire, but perhaps it was also a beginning. Yes, Thala said finally. We will. News of the meeting spread across the galaxy. The Vexillans had surrendered, not to force, not to threats, but to reality. The old ways were gone. A new era had begun. At the next Confederation Assembly, delegates from every species gathered. Humans, Quilrathi, Korathi, Drengen, Ashen, even Vexillans, all equal, all with a voice. Ambassador Chen, now older and showing gray in his hair, watched from his seat. A young Vexillan delegate approached him nervously. Ambassador Chen, I wanted to thank you for giving us a chance, for not destroying us when you could have. Chen smiled. We have all made mistakes. The question is not whether we make them, it is whether we learn from them. Your Empress learned. Your people are learning. That is all anyone can ask. The delegate bowed and moved away. Chen turned to look at the assembly hall. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds, all working together. All equal. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was slow. But it was real. No species ruling over others. No forced compliance. Just cooperation. Just respect. That night, Chen returned to his quarters and looked at Earth through his window. The blue planet that had once been dismissed as primitive. The world that had dared to walk away from the galaxy's most powerful organization. Humanity had not wanted to rule the galaxy. They had just wanted to be free. And in seeking their freedom, they had freed everyone else too. Earth's quantum gates now connected thousands of worlds. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers making discoveries together. Human engineers helped build stations and ships for species that had once looked down on them. Human doctors saved lives across the galaxy, but humans also explored. Their quantum gates reached beyond the galaxy, to other galaxies, other civilizations. The universe was vast and humanity was curious. Some species worried, what if they leave us behind? What if they find something better? But Varakun, now a senior member of the Confederation, understood. Humanity does not seek to leave us behind. They seek to pull us forward. That is who they are. That is who they have always been. We were just too blind to see it. In the parks of New York, children played. In the markets of Lagos, merchants traded. In the labs of Mumbai, scientists worked. Earth looked the same as it always had, peaceful, busy, alive. Power had not changed humanity. They remained who they had always been. People who worked hard, who innovated, who helped others, who believed in fairness and justice. The galaxy had tried to keep humanity small, to control them, to use them. But in doing so, they had created something they never expected, a species that understood both the value of power and the wisdom of restraint. Humanity had cut ties with the Galaxy Council and sent the cosmos into panic. But from that panic had come something better, something fairer, something that gave every species a chance to thrive. The old council had ruled through fear and control. The new confederation governed through cooperation and respect. The difference was everything. Years would pass. Challenges would come. Not every species would adapt easily. Not every conflict would be resolved peacefully. But the foundation was strong, built not on force but on choice, not on dominance but on dignity, and Earth watched over it all, not as rulers, not as masters, but as guardians, ready to defend the freedom they had won, ready to help those in need, ready to explore the infinite possibilities that the universe offered. Ambassador Chen retired a few years later. He returned to Earth and settled in a small house by the ocean. Sometimes young diplomats came to visit him to ask for advice. How did you know it would work? They always asked. How did you know the galaxy would accept our independence? Chen would smile and look out at the waves. I did not know. None of us did. But we knew that living as less than equals was not living at all. We knew that we had to try. And we knew that if we treated others with the respect we wanted for ourselves, eventually they would understand. What if they had not understood? The young diplomats would press. Then we would have remained free anyway, Chen would reply. Because freedom is not something others give you. It is something you claim for yourself. The galaxy did not grant us independence. We took it, and we were strong enough to keep it. And that was the truth that the Council had never understood, that the Vexillans had learned too late, that the new Confederation finally grasped. True power does not come from forcing others to obey. It comes from inspiring them to follow. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had simply shown it a better way, and the galaxy, tired of the old ways, had chosen to follow. That was the real victory, not military might. 3 months after the Vixillan fleet disappeared, the galaxy descended into chaos. With the Council's authority shattered, old conflicts reignited. Species that the Council had kept in check for centuries now fought openly. Trade routes became battlegrounds. Border disputes erupted into shooting wars. The careful balance that had maintained peace for generations collapsed. Some species blamed Earth for the instability. They broke the system, a Drengan senator declared. They destroyed our order, but others understood the truth. The system had been broken for a long time. It had just taken humanity's departure to reveal how fragile it really was. Not everyone accepted Earth's independence peacefully. A group calling themselves the Purity Front began attacking human refugee ships. Small vessels carrying the last humans home from distant colonies. The attacks were brutal and pointless. The ships carried no weapons, just families trying to reach safety. After the third attack, Earth responded, but not with violence, not with war. Human ships appeared instantly at every attack site using quantum gates. They rescued the survivors. They captured the attackers without firing a single shot. Then they did something remarkable. They returned the prisoners to their homeworlds unharmed, along with complete recordings of their crimes. We could have killed them, Admiral Okoro explained in a broadcast. But we chose not to. We want the galaxy to understand something. Humanity has power now. Real power. But we do not want to use it for revenge. We want to use it for justice. The Ashen bureaucracy, desperate to maintain some control, declared humanity hostile entities. They authorized any species to attack human vessels and seize human property. It was a death sentence, or it should have been. But humanity had something the Ashen did not expect. Information. Years of working throughout the galaxy had given humans access to everything. They knew about secret deals, hidden crimes, corruption that the public never saw. Earth released it all, not as threats, just as facts. Complete records of council dealings for the past century. Every species could see exactly how their leaders had acted. The scandals that followed toppled governments across dozens of worlds. The Ashen Declaration was quickly withdrawn. Nobody wanted to fight a species that could expose all their secrets. Meanwhile, the Korathi faced disaster. High Priestess Varakun arrived at Earth with her delegation. She had practiced her speech many times. Diplomatic words, formal requests. But when she stood before President Adeyemi, all her careful preparation disappeared. "My people are starving," she said simply. "We treated humanity with disrespect for 50 years. We claimed to be wise, but we were only arrogant. I have no right to ask for help, but I am asking anyway. Not for myself. For the millions who will die if our farms fail." Adeyemi studied the priestess. Varakun was old by Korathi standards. She had led her people for decades. But now she stood before a human leader asking for mercy. "Why did the council fear us?" Adeyemi asked quietly. Varakun met her eyes. "Because you were different. You adapted. You innovated. You worked together despite your differences. The elder species learned long ago to accept their limitations, to maintain their place in a stable hierarchy. But humans never stopped trying to improve, to grow. We knew that if given time you would surpass us, so we kept you down. We told ourselves it was for your own good, for stability. But the truth is we were afraid." Silence filled the room. Finally, Adeyemi nodded. "We will help your people, not because you asked, not because we want your gratitude, but because it is the right thing to do. We will send agricultural teams to your temple worlds. They will work alongside your people, teaching, not commanding. Your people will learn to maintain their own farms." Tears filled Varakun's eyes. "Thank you. How can we repay this debt?" "By treating others the way you now wish you had treated us," Adeyemi replied. "By building something better than the council. Something based on respect instead of fear." Images of human aid ships arriving at Korath Prime spread across the galaxy. People saw humans working beside Korathi farmers, teaching them, helping them, asking nothing in return. It was a powerful message. Earth had the power to crush its enemies, but it chose to help those in need instead. Other species began to understand. This was not just about technology, not just about power. This was about a different way of thinking, a different vision for how the galaxy could work. The Quilrathi were next. Merchant Prince Velcor proposed something radical. A new organization, not a council ruled by the strongest, but a confederation where every species had equal voice, where decisions required consensus, where no single group could dominate. Hundreds of species supported the idea. Even some former council members. The Drengan military split. Half wanted revenge on humanity. The other half recognized that the old ways had failed. They needed something new. On Nexus Prime, the council chambers stood empty. The 5 great species that had ruled for centuries could not even agree on a meeting time anymore. Their empire of bureaucracy and control had collapsed. The Ashen tried to hold things together with more rules and regulations. But nobody followed them. Their authority meant nothing now. The Quilrathi focused on rebuilding trade networks. This time as partners, not controllers. The Quilrathi worked with Earth, learning and teaching in return. The Drengan military slowly reformed. Accepting that strength alone was not enough anymore. Only the Vexillans remained defiant. But they were stranded far from the galaxy, their fleet slowly crawling home. They had 50 years to think about their choices. 50 years to decide who they wanted to be when they returned. 6 months after Earth's withdrawal, representatives from 200 species gathered on a neutral world. Not Nexus Prime, somewhere new. A place with no history of domination. They called it Unity Station. Ambassador Chen attended. The same human who had declared Earth's independence was now helping to build something better. He watched as species who had fought for centuries now worked together to draft a new charter. The Confederation of Free Worlds. It was messy. Delegates argued constantly. Progress came slowly. But it was real progress. Not imposed from above. Not controlled by a few powerful species. Built by consensus. By cooperation, Earth participated but did not lead. Humanity had learned something important. Power was not the same as wisdom. Having the ability to control others did not mean you should. We could have taken over, Chen admitted to Varakun one evening. They had become unlikely friends. We have the technology. The power. We could have made ourselves the new council. Why did you not? Varakun asked. Because we remember what it felt like to be powerless, Chen replied. We remember being ignored. Being exploited, being treated as lesser. We do not want to become what the council was. We want to be better. Varakun nodded slowly. That is why you will succeed. True leaders do not seek power. They accept responsibility. The council sought power and lost everything. Humanity accepted responsibility and gained respect. That is the difference. The Quilrathi merchant empire was in chaos. Trade routes that had worked for centuries now failed constantly. Ships arrived at wrong destinations. Cargo manifest got mixed up. Financial transactions took days instead of minutes. The complex network that connected thousands of worlds had depended on human coordinators to keep everything running smoothly. Without them, the whole system stuttered. On the temple world of Korath Prime, High Priestess Varakun watched her people suffer. The sacred farms were dying. The human agricultural engineers who had maintained them for decades were gone. The Korathi knew how to pray. They knew how to conduct ceremonies. But they did not know how to save their crops. We face starvation within 3 months, her advisor reported. 7 temple worlds are in the same situation. Varakun closed her eyes. Her pride wanted to remain silent, to find another solution. But her responsibility to her people was stronger than her pride. The Drengan military faced its own crisis. 60% of their fleet sat in repair docks. The human maintenance crews were gone. The Drengan had never bothered to learn how their most advanced systems worked. They had just ordered humans to fix things. Now those humans were home and the Drengan fleet was grounded. General Throck stared at the reports. How did this happen? We are the strongest military in the galaxy. We were the strongest, his chief engineer corrected. But humans maintained everything. Our quantum engines, our shield generators, our weapon systems. We never learned because we never had to. They did all the hard work. Meanwhile, individual species began breaking council orders. The Quilrathi were the first. A merchant prince named Velcor contacted Earth directly. He offered fair trade terms, equal partnerships, no Article 7, no forced sharing of technology. Earth agreed. Within days, human ships were delivering goods to Quilrathi worlds, but only to those merchants who treated humans as equals. The council forbade such deals, but they could not stop them. Too many species were desperate. The Ashen tried to maintain order. They wrote new regulations. They threatened sanctions. They declared that any species trading with Earth would face punishment. But nobody listened anymore. The Council's authority was crumbling. The Vexillans were the most humiliated. They had ruled the Council for centuries. They had treated humans with the most contempt. Now they watched their luxury stations fail one by one. Their people, who had never worked with their hands, could not fix even basic systems. Empress Thala called her war council. "We must act. Humanity has made fools of us. What do you propose?" her advisor asked carefully. Admiral Krath's fleet was disabled without a fight. "The humans have technology we do not understand. Then we will bring overwhelming force," Thala decided. "Assemble the largest fleet in our history, 10,000 ships. Even the humans cannot stand against such numbers." The other council species, desperate and embarrassed, agreed. They contributed ships to the Great Fleet. This time, humanity would learn its place. But before the fleet could launch, something happened that changed everything. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, who had once maintained a Quilrathi station, appeared on every communication channel in the galaxy, every screen, every broadcast. Millions of species watched as she explained what humanity had really discovered. "The quantum drive was just one piece," she said, "one application of a much larger discovery. For 10 years, humanity has been studying the fundamental nature of space and time. We have found something the elder species missed. Or perhaps they found it and could not understand it." She activated a display. Mathematical equations float across screens. "Your ships move through space. They push against reality and travel from one point to another. But space is not what you think it is. Space is not empty. It is a fabric. And that fabric can be folded." The equations changed. Sarah continued. "Humanity has built quantum gates, not engines that move ships through space. Gates that fold space itself. Instantaneous travel between any 2 points. No distance, no time. Just a step through a door. Silence across the galaxy." Every species understood what this meant. Humanity had not just improved on existing technology. They had made a fundamental breakthrough. They had leapfrogged everyone. "We closed our borders," Sarah explained. "But we did not just close them. We built a network. Watch." The display showed Sol system. Then lights began appearing. Hundreds of lights, thousands, each one a quantum gate. They connected every human colony, every station, every ship. A network that covered light years in an instant. "This is what humanity has been building," Sarah said. "While we worked for you. While we maintained your stations and fixed your ships. While you took our innovations and called them your own. We were preparing for this day. The day we would stand as equals." On dozens of council worlds, leaders watched in shock. Humanity had not just left. They had advanced beyond anything the galaxy had seen in millennia, but Empress Thala refused to accept it. "Broadcast or not, we have 10,000 ships. Launch the fleet. Teach humanity humility." The great Vexillan fleet gathered, ships from a dozen worlds, the largest military force assembled in centuries. They would crush Earth, show the galaxy that the Council still ruled. Empress Thala herself commanded from her flagship. She had lived 300 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She would not let some upstart species destroy everything the Council had built. The fleet jumped into Sol system. 10,000 warships appeared at once, surrounding the human homeworld. Thala expected to see fear, to see Earth scrambling to defend itself. Instead, she saw nothing. No ships rushed to meet them. No defense platforms fired. No warnings came. Just silence. Then a single message appeared on her screen. Text only. Simple words, "You were warned." Lights began to appear around the fleet. Quantum gates. Hundreds of them. They activated all at once. The fleet did not explode. It did not burn. It simply vanished. 10,000 ships. Gone in an instant. Thala found herself staring at unfamiliar stars. Her tactical officer checked their position. "Empress, we are 100,000 light-years beyond the galactic rim. In empty space. No planets, no stations, nothing." "How long to return?" Thala asked quietly. "At maximum speed. 50 years, 50 years." Her fleet was not destroyed. Her crews were alive. But they were stranded. Removed from the galaxy like pieces off a game board. Another message appeared. "Your life support will last long enough to return. Food and water are sufficient. We could have destroyed you. We chose not to. This is your warning. Leave humanity alone. We do not want war, but we will not accept subjugation." Back in the galaxy, the news spread instantly. The Vexillan fleet had not been destroyed. It had been moved, relocated like cargo. Earth had demonstrated power beyond anything the Council possessed. But more importantly, Earth had shown mercy. They could have killed 10,000 beings. Instead, they had simply removed the threat. They proved they were strong enough to defend themselves but wise enough not to kill unnecessarily. On Korath Prime, High Priestess Varakun made her decision. Prepare a delegation. We will go to Earth not as Council representatives, as supplicants. We will ask for help, and we will offer them the respect they always deserved. Her advisor looked shocked. You would bow to humans? I would bow to anyone to save our people, Varakun replied. But more than that, I would bow to those we wronged. The Council feared humanity. We suppressed them because we knew they might surpass us. And now they have. The question is whether we have the wisdom to accept it. Across the galaxy, other species reached the same conclusion. The old order was broken. The Council's authority was gone. Some species celebrated, others mourned. But everyone understood that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity had not just left the Council. They had shattered it. And now the galaxy would have to figure out what came next. The first human evacuation ships appeared 3 days after Ambassador Chen's announcement. They came by the hundreds. Small transport vessels, large colony ships, even converted cargo haulers. Every ship carried the same message painted on its hull. Going home. On Station Kepler 442, a massive orbital facility above a Quilrathi trade world, the aliens watched in confusion as human workers packed their belongings. Chief Engineer Sarah Okonkwo supervised the departure of her team. She had spent 20 years maintaining the station's power systems. You cannot be serious, the Quilrathi station master said. His tentacles waved nervously. Who will maintain the reactor? Who will fix the life support? My people do not know these systems. Sarah handed him a data chip. All the maintenance manuals are here. Good luck, but we have no engineers trained on human systems. The station master protested. Then you should have thought about that before treating us like servants, Sarah replied. She walked onto the transport ship without looking back. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Human doctors left hospitals. Human farmers abandoned agricultural stations. Human teachers closed their schools. Everywhere humans had worked, empty spaces appeared. The Council had not expected this. They thought humans would leave slowly. Maybe just a few thousand people, just enough to make a point. But humanity was evacuating everyone. Millions of people were coming home. Within a week, the problem started. The Quilrathi discovered that 40% of their trade network depended on human logistics coordinators. Without them, shipments went to wrong planets. Cargo sat in warehouses. Deliveries missed their deadlines. The great merchant empire that had run smoothly for centuries suddenly could not move goods efficiently. The Vexillan luxury stations started having problems too. Life support systems developed strange errors. Water recyclers stopped working properly. Climate controls failed. The Vexillans called their own engineers, but the repairs took forever. One technician admitted the truth. The humans made improvements to everything. We do not know how half of these systems work anymore. The Korathi temple worlds faced the worst crisis. Their sacred farms had been maintained by human agricultural experts. Now those experts were gone. The Korathi priests knew religious ceremonies, but they did not know how to grow food. Within 2 weeks, they faced potential starvation. But the strangest thing was happening to computer systems across the galaxy. Programs that humans had written started acting differently. Not broken exactly, just less efficient. A trading program that used to process 1,000 transactions per second now handled only 500. A navigation system that used to calculate routes in seconds now took minutes. A young Ashen programmer discovered the truth. The humans embedded something in their code. When they left, their programs reverted to older versions. Every improvement they made is undoing itself. The Ashen Council leader studied the report. How is this possible? We reviewed all human software. We found no hidden code. That is because it was not hidden, the programmer explained. It was right there in the open. But we never understood what we were looking at. The humans are better programmers than we realized. Much better. 3 weeks after the evacuation began, the Council called an emergency meeting. This time they met in private. No cameras. No observers. Just the 5 ruling species. The Vexilon representative spoke first. "We must stop this madness. Send a fleet to Sol system. Demand they return." "With what authority?" the Quillrothi asked. Humanity followed proper procedures. They gave notice. "They are leaving peacefully. Authority." The Drengan general laughed. "We have 10,000 warships. That is all the authority we need." "And then what?" the Korathi priest said quietly. "Force them to work for us? Make them slaves? That will solve nothing." "We do not need to make them slaves," the Ashen bureaucrat said. "We just need to remind them of their place. They are a junior species. They need us more than we need them." But even as he said it, reports kept coming in. More systems failing, more supply chains breaking, more worlds struggling without human expertise. The galaxy was discovering something uncomfortable. They had needed humanity more than they ever admitted. The council decided to send a fleet anyway. Not to attack, they said. Just to talk. To show humanity that the council was still powerful. That Earth could not just walk away from centuries of tradition. Admiral Krath commanded the fleet. He was a Drengan, old and experienced. He had fought in a dozen wars and won them all. He took 50 ships with him, more than enough to impress the humans. When his fleet arrived at the edge of Sol system, Krath expected to see Earth's defenses, maybe a few orbital platforms, some outdated missile systems. Humans had never been warriors. They were workers, builders, not soldiers. What he saw instead made him freeze. Sol system had transformed. Mars glowed with weapons installations. Luna was covered in defense platforms. The asteroid belt had been turned into a fortress. Thousands of defensive positions covered every approach to Earth. Where did all this come from? His tactical officer whispered. Krath did not answer. He knew where it came from. Humans had been building it for years, right under everyone's noses. While they worked on council projects, while they maintained alien stations, while they acted like obedient servants, they had been preparing. A message appeared on his screen. Admiral Okoro, a human, young for an admiral, but her eyes were hard. "Admiral Krath," she said. "Welcome to Sol system. State your purpose." Krath tried to sound confident. "We come to negotiate Earth's return to the Council. The Council is willing to discuss better terms." "We have no interest in returning," Okoro replied. "Sol system is closed to Council vessels. You have 5 minutes to turn around." "You cannot close a system to Council ships," Krath said. "Galactic law states that all member systems must allow free passage." "We are not members anymore," Okoro said. "And this is our system. Our space. Our rules." 4 minutes, Krath looked at his fleet. 50 warships. The humans had defensive platforms, yes. But they had no experience in actual combat. He could push through if he wanted to. Show them what real military power looked like. "Admiral," he said slowly, "we do not want conflict. But the Council has authorized me to use force if necessary. Do not make me do something we both regret." Okoro's expression did not change. 3 minutes, Krath made his decision. "All ships advance formation. Shields up. Show them we mean business." 3 ships moved forward. Just 3. A small gesture. They crossed the boundary that Okoro had marked, and then they stopped. Not exploded. Not damaged. Just stopped. Dead in space. Every system offline. Engines cold. Weapons silent. Life support on emergency power only. "What did you do?" Krath demanded. "Nothing," Okoro said. "You crossed our boundary. Those ships will remain disabled until you withdraw. Their crews are safe, but the ships will not move. Consider this a warning. The Council does not understand what humanity has become. We suggest you leave before you learn the hard way." Krath stared at his screens. 3 of his best warships, disabled without a shot fired, without any visible weapon, just stopped. Like someone had flipped a switch. He had been a warrior for 40 years. He knew when he was outmatched. "All ships," he said quietly, "withdraw. Back to Council space." As his fleet retreated, Krath understood something the rest of the Council had not yet grasped. Humanity had not been weak. They had been patient. They had been learning, watching, preparing, and now they were ready to stand on their own. The galaxy was about to change, whether the Council wanted it to or not. The meeting hall on Nexus Prime stretched for miles. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the massive chamber. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were nothing but floating energy. They all gathered for the same reason: the Galactic Council's monthly assembly. Ambassador Chen Wei sat in the human section. His dark suit looked plain next to the colorful robes and armor worn by other delegates. He checked his watch. 50 years. 50 years since humanity had joined this grand assembly. 50 years of being ignored. The council speaker, a tall Vexilon with silver skin, raised his forearms. The chamber fell silent. His species had ruled the council for centuries. They believed they were better than everyone else, especially humans. Next item, the Vexilon said, his voice echoing. The human petition for improved labor rights. Denied. The request for technology sharing agreements. Denied. The proposal for equal representation. Denied. Chen's jaw tightened. 3 proposals. 3 denials. Just like last month. And the month before that? The council treated humanity like children who did not understand how the galaxy worked. But humans understood perfectly. They understood that the 5 great species who controlled the council wanted to keep their power. The Vexillans played at being nobles. The Quilrathi controlled all trade. The Korathi claimed religious authority over everything. The Drengan had the biggest military, and the Ashen wrote rules that kept everyone else in line. Together, these 5 species decided everything. They let humans build their stations. They let humans fix their ships. They let humans farm their worlds. But they never let humans have a real voice. Chen stood up. Honorable Council, I must speak. The Vexillan speaker looked annoyed. Ambassador Chen, you know the rules. Junior species may only speak when given permission. Then I request permission, Chen said calmly. The speaker sighed. Very well. 2 minutes, Chen walked to the center platform. His footsteps sounded loud in the quiet hall. 3 weeks ago, human scientists discovered something. A new type of engine. We call it the quantum drive. It can cross the galaxy in hours instead of months. Whispers spread through the chamber. Even the council members leaned forward. Faster travel meant more trade, more power, more control. We came to register this discovery, Chen continued, to patent it under human jurisdiction, to finally show that Earth can contribute more than just labor to this galaxy. A Quilrathi counselor stood. His merchant robes glittered with wealth. Ambassador, surely you remember Article 7 of the Mutual Advancement Code. All breakthrough technologies must be shared with the Council, for the good of all species. Article 7 applies to junior species, Chen said. Species who need the Council's help to develop their technology. Exactly, the Quilrathi smiled. And humanity is a junior species. Therefore, this quantum drive now belongs to the Council. We will study it, improve it, and distribute it fairly to all members. Chen looked around the chamber. He saw the same expression on every face, greed. They wanted humanity's discovery. They would take it just like they had taken everything else. Something inside Chen snapped. 50 years of patience. 50 years of following their rules. 50 years of hoping things would change. But nothing ever changed. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a data pad. Then I suppose this is the right time to deliver my second message. The Vexillan speaker waved his hand. Your time is up, Ambassador. No, Chen said quietly. Our time is up. Humanity's time with this council is over. The chamber went completely silent. Not even a whisper. Every being stared at the human ambassador. Chen read from his pad. By order of the United Earth Government, and with the full support of all human colony worlds, Earth formally withdraws from the Galactic Council. Effective immediately, all treaties and agreements are terminated. All human personnel will return to Sol System within 30 days. All council installations on human worlds must be removed within the same period. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the chamber erupted. Delegates jumped to their feet. Some shouted in anger. Others looked confused. A few even laughed. The Vexillan speaker slammed his staff on the floor. This is ridiculous. Humanity cannot simply leave. You signed binding agreements. Agreements that you have violated repeatedly, Chen replied. We have documented every broken promise, every stolen technology, every denied right. The evidence has been sent to every independent species in the galaxy. They can judge for themselves whether the Council treats its members fairly. A Drengan general stood. His armor made him look like a walking tank. You dare threaten us? Humanity is weak. Your military is nothing. We could crush Earth in a week. Chen met his eyes. Then try. But know this, we are not threatening anyone. We are leaving. You can accept that peacefully or you can start a war. The choice is yours. The Quillrathi counselor laughed. This is madness. Humanity needs the council. Where will you get your advanced medicine, your quantum computers, your energy shields? You depend on us for everything. We depended on the council, Chen corrected. Past tense. We have been preparing for this day for 10 years. Earth is ready. More laughter echoed through the chamber. The council members could not believe what they were hearing. Humans had always been so obedient, so willing to work hard and accept whatever scraps the council threw them. Chen turned and walked toward the exit. You have 30 days. I suggest you use them wisely. Behind him, the chamber exploded into chaos. Council members shouted at each other. Delegates demanded explanations. Security forces rushed around looking for orders, but Chen did not look back. He had delivered his message. Now humanity would see if the galaxy was ready to accept them as equals, or if they would have to force the issue. As he reached his ship, Chen allowed himself a small smile. The council thought humanity was bluffing. They thought humans would come crawling back within a week, begging to be readmitted. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back on Earth, President Adeyemi watched the news reports. The entire galaxy was talking about humanity's withdrawal. Some called it brave, most called it stupid. But Adeyemi knew the truth. It was necessary. For 50 years, humanity had played by the Council's rules. They had shared their innovations. They had worked on Council projects. They had built their economy around Council trade. And what had they received in return? Nothing but empty promises and condescending smiles. The quantum drive was the final straw. Humanity's greatest scientific achievement, and the Council wanted to simply take it, to claim it as their own, to give humanity no credit and no compensation. Well, those days were over. Adeyemi pressed a button on her desk. General Martinez, begin Operation Homecoming. Across the galaxy, human ships received their orders. Every human worker, scientist, engineer, doctor, and farmer started packing. Millions of people prepared to leave the worlds they had called home. They would return to human space, to safety, to freedom. The Council still thought this was a game, a negotiating tactic. They could not imagine that humanity would actually go through with it. But they were about to discover that humans were very good at keeping promises, and Earth had promised to leave. So Earth would leave, every last one of them,